looking for someone of my own, my own. Close the window and your eyes disappear into the blue. Wrap your fingers around the great escape, drinking moonshine on the moon. It's got you feeling like a queen, but you're not quite. Looking down on those traveling lights, I'd best be on my way. I'd best be on my way. Floating down that moving sidewalk, I go clear-eyed and calm. Don't want the fruit from that still life. It's held me far too long, and without you, no longer trouble. I'm looking down on those traveling lights, and I'm on my way. And I'm on my way. This torch is heavy, I travel light. I know it's lonely on the top shelf, 'cause I've been there myself. Oh, I've been there, deep in my cups, high in the sky, when I just wanted something of my own. Just wanted something of my own. Looking for someone of my own, my own. Floating down that moving sidewalk, I go clear-eyed and calm. Don't want the fruit from that still light. It's held me far too long, and without you, no longer trouble. I'm looking down on those traveling lights, and I'm on my way. And I'm on my way. And I'm on my way. This torch is heavy, but I travel light. It's lonely on the top shelf, 'cause I've been there myself. Oh, I've been there, deep in my cups, high in the sky, when I just wanted something of my own. Just wanted something of my own. Looking for someone of my own. My own. Close the window and your eyes disappear into the blue. Wrap your fingers around the great escape, drinking moonshine on the moon. It's got you feeling like a queen, but you're not quite. Looking down on those traveling lights, I'd best be on my way. I'd best be on my way. Floating down that moving sidewalk, I go clear-eyed and calm. Don't want the fruit from that still light. It's held me far too long, and without you, no longer trouble. I'm looking down on those traveling lights, and I'm on my way. And I'm on my way. This torch is heavy, but I travel light. myself. Oh, I've been there, deep in my cups, high in the sky, when I just wanted something of my own. Just wanted something of my own. Looking for someone of my own, my own. Floating down that moving sidewalk, I go clear-eyed and calm. Don't want the fruit from that still life. It's held me far too long, and without you, no longer trouble. I'm looking down on those traveling lights, and I'm on my way. And I'm on my way. And I'm on my way. This torch is heavy, but I travel light. It's lonely on the top shelf, 'cause I've been there myself. Oh, I've been there, deep in my cups, high in the sky, when I just wanted something of my own. Just wanted something of my own. Looking for someone of my own.
Good morning, Acadiana, and thank you for tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate and the Advocate at Large. Every day of the week, they're bringing you the news stories that are near and dear to your hearts and minds here in the local Lafayette area. And we are glad to bring those news stories to you in an audio format every Monday through Friday between 9 and 10. And we are so fortunate to be joined by our volunteer news readers, people like the... oh man, I was looking for the perfect superlative, but I couldn't find it. It escapes me. But you all know and love Bruce Cohen, who is here with us reading this morning. Bruce, thanks for being back with us this morning. How are you doing?
Well, fantastic, Matt. I'll add a superlative if I could even get that word out. I'll add the remarkable. No, I'm only kidding. I just, it's a great service that we have, that we allow for the community. So I'm just honored to be a part of it, really, seriously. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'll see you on the flip-flop.
All right, Bruce, sounds great. I'm going to listen on Cypress Street. Thank you.
Okay, buddy. Well, good morning in Acadiana. This is Friday, August 7th, 2020, and here is all the news that hopefully will fit into the next hour. Some Lafayette City Council members want recreation and museum cuts restored by Claire Taylor. A Lafayette City Council member offered a budget amendment Thursday that would ensure 4 recreation centers in North Lafayette remain open in 2020-21, while others offered amendments to restore money for employees at the Hyman Performing Arts Center and Lafayette Science Museum. Objections by others on the city and parish councils mean votes will be taken on each individually when the budget is adopted in September. The move may also set up a constitutional legal showdown over whether the parish council should have a vote equal to that of the city council over services and operations funded entirely by city taxpayers. The councils met jointly Thursday to review portions of the budget, including parks and recreation and community development, with proposed cuts by Mayor President Josh Guillory for the fiscal year that runs from November 1st to October 31 of 2021. City Councilman Glenn Lazard offered a general amendment to the proposed budget to restore $3.5 million to Parks and Rec from the city general operating fund to keep open 4 parks in predominantly Black, economically challenged neighborhoods, and to keep 37 employees Guillory proposed laying off. In July, Guillory announced he was shutting down the centers and laying off the 37 employees effective August 14th. He did not consult with any council members before the announcement, which sparked outcry and protest in the community. Since then, Guillory and some of his administrators and some council members have walked back the announcement, alleging it was never Guillory's intention to shut down recreation centers, even though the money was cut from the proposed budget. Guillory instead is pushing for public-private partnerships to keep the recreation centers open. Guillory last week requested proposals from businesses and organizations to operate the 4 centers. Next week, the parish council is expected to consider allocating $200,000 to the rec centers for 1 year from $2 million voters rededicated to Parks and Recreation in 2018 from a library's surplus. Lazard wasn't buying it, so he offered the amendment. I guess this is my definition of a safety net, Lazard said, offering the amendment to restore funding. City Councilman Andy Knockwin objected. As a result, the councils will vote separately on the allocation when the budget is up for final adoption September 10th. City Councilwoman Annette Cook offered an amendment allocating $100,000 from the city general fund to the Hyman Performing Arts Center. The fund positions eliminated by Guillory in June. Among the 101 full and part-time positions he cut, Parish Councilman Josh Carlson objected, forcing a separate vote in September. The positions include box office workers and a maintenance person to prepare the facility for the return of the events after the COVID-19 closures. City Councilwoman Liz Hebert, who chairs the budget hearings, said because the Hyman Center is 100% funded by city taxpayers, Carlson had no standing to object to the transfer. Guillory interjected that Assistant City Parish Attorney Paul Escott previously said department services considered patient-wide are to be voted on by both councils. Later in the meeting, Carlson said he heard from the city parish attorney that the Hyman Center is in the Community Development Department, which is a parish department, and therefore his objection should stand. Cook also offered an amendment to transfer the $890,000 balance in the CREATE Fund to the Lafayette Science Museum. The money comes from a .25 mil property tax rededicated by voters in November 2017 to be used to grow the parish's arts and cultural economy. Council Clerk Veronica Williams said 152 people registered their support for funding the museum. Guillory's proposed budget guts the museum staff and operations. Talks are underway for the Museum Foundation to take over its operations, but it took a could take years for the foundation to secure funds to replace this $800,000 budget cut. The councils will vote on the amendment separately. Carlson requested a legal opinion on whether the city council has say over any transferring the create money because it is a parish tax. He said he believes only the parish council can vote to transfer the money. Cook offered a general budget amendment to use $100,000 from the city general fund to restore funds cut by Guillory for the Canaan Center for the Arts. Knockwood opposed the amendment, so the amendment will be voted on separately. And just as a side note, watching the news last night, the 10 o'clock news last night, it was reported in last night's KLFY or KDN, KLFY, I believe, newscast that the parks, the 4 park and recreation centers in the north side of town will not, there was a vote or a decision made that they would not be closed. So if you can go to KLFY, you can probably get more up-to-date information on that whole situation. Lafayette, a candidate can run for city marshal by Ben Myers. A judge on Wednesday upheld the qualification of Lafayette city marshal candidate Nathan Broussard to run for the position, finding that Broussard resides solely within the city limits. District Attorney Kevin Stutz challenged Broussard's candidacy because Broussard claimed a homestead exemption in Scott at the time he qualified for the election on July 22nd. Broussard changed his voter registration to a residence within Lafayette City, limited 5 days before qualifying, but he did not revoke his homestead exemption in Scott until July 31st, according to the DA's office. Judge Jules Edwards agreed with Stutz that people with multiple residences must register to vote in precincts where they can claim homestead exemptions, and that political candidates are eligible to run in jurisdictions where they are eligible to vote. But Edwards disagreed with Stutz that Broussard had multiple residences based on subjective testimony and objective physical evidence that Broussard provided in a hearing. The evidence showed Broussard's intent to occupy a condominium in the city of Lafayette, despite the homestead exemption in Scott, according to Edwards, who is running on the same election date for the city council judge seat. 5 candidates filed to run for city marshal, although one, Brian Pope, who still technically holds the office while on suspension, was disqualified August 4th by 2 judges in separate objections. Stutz filed one of the objections against Pope, arguing that his convictions on felony malfeasance charges prevented him from registering to vote. The other objection to Pope's candidacy came from the State Ethics Board, which said Pope's outstanding ethic fines prohibited him from running. The other candidates are Kip Judas, Reggie Thomas, and John Trahan Jr. Iberia Board votes to push school start to September 8th by Katie Gagliano. The Iberia Parish School Board voted Wednesday to delay the start of school until September 8th, the latest in a stream of Acadiana school districts to execute or consider a delay to school this week. The board voted 11-3 to delay the start of school, with members Brad Norris, Rachel Segura, and Danny Duga voting against the change. The shift was recommended by Superintendent Carrie Lafayette, who said the coronavirus situation in the region has changed since the school system proposed reopening on a hybrid schedule on August 17th. On Monday, the St. Landry Parish School Board voted to push its virtual start to September 8th, with the Lafayette Parish School System following Tuesday evening. Lafayette noted the other district's actions and also cited a widely circulated July 28th memo from Dr. Henry Kaufman IV, Chief Medical Officer of Our Lady of Lourdes Regional Medical Center, decrying the community's obstinate refusal to accept scientific recommendations to slow the virus's spread and warning of rising pressure on the hospital system. By waiting, the district allows time for Governor John Bell Edwards' mask mandate and other precautions to take effect and possibly lower case numbers and ease pressure on our local health system, she said. To maintain required instructional minutes, Lafayette said the district eliminated fall break and 2 days from the Mardi Gras and Easter holidays and extended the last day of school to June 4th for students. Under the new calendar, 10-month employees would report August 24th, and 9-month employees would report August 26th. The delay was supported by educator groups, including the Iberia Association of Educators and the Iberia Principals Association. Iberia Principals Association President Niles Romero, head of Jefferson Island Road Elementary, said nothing is lost by showing prudence and delaying students' return buys time for case numbers to decline. The administrators would prefer an in-person start late over being forced into a virtual start because of COVID-19 numbers, she said. Jeanneret Senior High Principal Linda Friedman says she's listened to staff members voice anxiety about returning to work and had parents take their children virtual over fears of the virus's danger. Friedman intimately knows the weight of their worst fears because 12 years ago, her eldest son died. The pain of losing a child never goes away. God forbid if we open our schools too soon and the deadly virus rages to our schools and we lose one child or one teacher who has children waiting for them to come home every night. We've all failed to do our most important job, and that is to protect our teachers and our children, Freeman said. Westgate High Principal Neely Moore says she's worked at the school for 19 years, and for years she's been asked if she's afraid to work there because of baseless rumors and gossip about the school environment. She's always emphatically said no. In response, she said, and even with the coronavirus a front and center concern, she's still not afraid because she's confident in its plan. But that confidence doesn't mean she doesn't have pause. The impact of the coronavirus is not just some numbers that flash across my phone screen. There are names and faces for each one. Those numbers are people that I know. I think that's the difference. I don't want to feel responsible for more of those numbers, Moore said. Norris, who represents District 8, was a supporter in maintaining the August 17th start date, citing letters and messages from parents and teachers who felt their voices were being overlooked in the process. Norris read a letter from an anonymous teacher who wrote a poll that, conducted by the Iberia Association of Educators, reflected a limited pool of parish educators, and many are interested in returning to the classroom. The woman said students rely on teachers for social and emotional support, as well as academic learning, and those relationships are increasingly critical during the upheaval. Parents have the opportunity to choose which option they believe would best serve their child. Those that have chosen the virtual route still should not have an opinion on how schools are open for face-to-face instruction. The face-to-face parents have trusted their schools and teachers for the safety of their child. Why would they trust it, least if we start now versus a month? By prolonging the opening will only make the teacher's task in getting the students on level that much more difficult, Norris read from the teacher's letter. Casey Peltier, who runs the Iberia Parish Education Forum and Info Facebook group, questioned what will happen if September 8th arrives and the case rates haven't improved. She said it's not a matter of preparedness. The district should follow its phased reopening plans. I'm really thrown because I really appreciated and expected the reasoning to be because we were not prepared. I don't think we were trying to push this back because of the virus. The virus is not going away. It's not. So why even make these plans? Why not just do virtual? Our students need us. We need to be back in the classroom, Peltier said. After approving the delay, the board also approved the motion to authorize Lafayette to pay employees for August now that the teachers' reporting days have been pushed back. All right, let's look at our first public service announcement for the morning. Dreams Foundation hosts support group for dads of special needs, open to the public to attend. The Dreams Foundation of Acadiana has launched a new program called the Dreams Dads Support Group. Meetings are held on the first Friday of every month, and the next meeting is scheduled for today, August 7th, at 6:30 p.m. at Jamming Java, located on Barrett School Road in Lafayette. Everyone is required to wear a mask and sit 6 feet apart. The support group is open to dads of children or adults with special needs who want to connect with other dads to discuss topics that impact daily life. related to caring for a loved one with simple to complex medical conditions such as epilepsy, autism, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and more. The Dream Support Group organizers kindly ask that dads attend without their children, spouse, significant other, or caregivers, so they can give everyone intended the opportunity to speak openly about any concerns or questions that they may want to discuss in a comfortable setting away from home. At the beginning of the year, Dreams started up a support group for moms, and that launched with great success. We just started to start one up for dads because we saw a need in the special needs community for people to reach out and to talk about their concerns with other parents who are going through similar circumstances, stated Dreams founder and executive director Brian Watkins. For more information about the Dream Support Group for Dads, email dreamsfoundationaca@gmail.com. Back into the news, petition seeking priest ouster delivered, 12,000 signed document objecting to ERATH clergyman's comments by Ken Stickney. A Texas woman seeking the removal of a Catholic priest from a former parish in ERATH delivered petitions with 12,000 names of people agreeing with her to the Catholic Diocese of Lafayette on Thursday, though there was no one on hand to receive them. A diocesan spokeswoman said the chancery was closed to the public because of COVID-19. Ashley Langlaney, 39, who now lives near Austin, Texas, walked in silence past some 60 opponents of her position who had lined the sidewalk outside the chancery and dropped a 250-page petition. Many of the signatures have been collected nationally by Faithful America, a Christian activist group, into a drop box outside the building. Many of those outside the chancery prayed as she walked past. Langlaney, who graduated from ERATH High and the University of Louisiana in Lafayette before moving to Texas, said in her petition that the Reverend Andrew Metrojean, pastor at Our Lady of Lourdes, had made egregious statements against gay people in the parish bulletin in June. Metrojean has taken issue with the New Orleans Saints, who had celebrated gay pride by lighting up the Superdome with rainbow colors. She also suggested that the priest had made racist remarks to another parishioner, although she said she was not present when that statement was made. "We're not asking for him to be excommunicated from parish ministry," said Langlaney, who spoke a few minutes under some shade trees about 50 yards from the entry to the chancery. "We're just asking to be removed from his parish ministry." Langlaney, who has been in a gay relationship for a decade and has been married to a woman, says she no longer practices the Catholic faith or belongs to any church. "I'm not sure what will come from this," she said of the petition effort. Among the handful of supporters was her mother, who declined to speak, Matthew Humphrey of PFLAG, an organization that supports people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, and a few others. They included Lisa Abear, a Catholic from Vermilion Parish, who says she was there in support of her 2 children who are gay. A crowd of people who largely identify themselves as Metrojean supporters included some from his parish and others who said they were there to support all priests. Many declined to identify themselves by name. They began to gather about 3 p.m., about a half an hour before Langley was to drop off the positions. Margaret Rux led some of the group in praying the Chaplet of Divine Mercy in support of all priests. The man who declined to give his name later led a larger crowd in praying the Rosary. Several people arrived with signs supporting Metrojean. A rival petition to Langlaise has drawn more than 5,000 signers. Quinn Aber, who has attended seminary in Covington with Metrojean, said the two remained friends. He said he did research on the accusations and found them to be patently false, but he spoke quietly with Langlaney for a while before she dropped off her petitions and said he would pray for her. Noah Delate of Our Lady of Lourdes, also former seminarian, said he had approached Langley before she dropped the petition in the box and also talked with her briefly. She is definitely in my prayer process, he said. Suspects sought after standoff, man 21 wanted on attempted murder and shooting of 2 by Katie Gagliano. A 21-year-old man is wanted on suspicion of attempted murder after an hours-long standoff with law enforcement revealed he was not hiding in residence at the Moss Street House in the Moss Street House housing development. Joseph Broussard Jr. of Lafayette is wanted on 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder and after 2 people were shot Thursday morning. Lafayette police responded to the shooting in the 1100 block of Moss Street about 10:30 a.m. and discovered a male and female suffering from injuries that were not life-threatening, Lafayette Police Sergeant Nicole Oakes said. The victims were taken to a hospital and were in stable condition as of Thursday afternoon. Officers learned an altercation between the victims and Broussard preceded the shooting, but the specifics are still being investigated, Oakes said. Lafayette police officers, deputies of both the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office and Lafayette City Marshal's agents surrounded the Moss Street complex for hours Thursday. At one point, a SWAT team ripped the door off residents using a battery arm affixed to a SWAT vehicle and later sent in a robot system and police dog to sweep the apartment. Law enforcement cleared the scene about 1:40 p.m. It was not unknown whether Broussard fled the area on foot or was in a vehicle. The last information we had was that he was inside the residence, and that's why we took all the precautions that we did. It was time-consuming because there was protocol in place for such situations, and that's what we followed, Oakes said. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Lafayette Police Department at 337-291-8600 or Crime Stoppers at 337-232-8477. Police officers are asking Broussard to peacefully turn himself over to law enforcement, Oakes said. Judge upholds Edwards' restrictions. Governor extends limits for 3 weeks. By Sam Carlin. And before we get into that story, we're getting into the state stories now. We've done all of the local Acadiana news, except for one UL Cajuns football camp story towards the end of the broadcast. So let's go to another PSA before we get into the state news. And we'll do the day in history and the Zodiac and the funerals in the Canaan area. If you ever wanted a poem written for you, here's your chance to have a lovely story or poem written by one of our esteemed authors. The event is Words for You, a fundraiser for Festival of Words. It's taking place currently, and you can find all the information at festivalwords.org. You can also contact Martha Gardner at fowmartha@gmail.com or phone number 337-804-2482. During a difficult year, creative expression is more important than ever. The Festival of Words has developed an alternative fundraiser to Word Crawl. Words for You is a project of commissioned poems, stories, and songs. Under this project, festival supporters will have the opportunity to commission a work by a favorite author. So there are approximately over 40 authors available to choose from. You can go to festivalwords.org, and on the homepage at the very top of the page is a red banner that says Words for You fundraiser. And that will take you to all the information. Once you get there, you can choose an author to create an original work for you. You can make a donation, and donations, most of the authors will take a $50 donation. If they're a poet laureate or former poet laureate, it is a $100 donation. You fill out a brief questionnaire about yourself to help the author get started. The writer receives a request, creates a new work based on the prompts, and a virtual performance of the new work will take place September 10th. Volunteers this year include Daryl Bork, former poet laureate, Dominic Cross, Tony Daspit, head of the Gear Up poetry group in the high school system, Tina Ferreira, Mona Lisa Saloy, Valentine Pierce, John Warren Smith, current poet laureate for the state, and many more. Again, if you're interested, contact Martha Gardner at fowmartha@gmail.com or Patrice Melnick at festivalwords@gmail.com. The Canaan Symphony Orchestra takes the virtual stage. The Canaan Symphony Orchestra, or ASO, announces that they are shifting the fall portion of ASO 36 revival season, which goes from September to December, to a virtual live stream platform. ASO believes that this is the unquestionable solution to keeping our community safe while still providing opportunities for local musicians to share their passion and earn income despite the mandated restrictions and uncertain venue viability. Canaan Symphony Orchestra, or ASO, has and will always remain committed to providing outstanding performances to Acadiana and fueling the cultural economy of our region. Symphonies, businesses, and organizations across the country are having to rethink, retool, and reinvent. We are no different, so thank you for your grace and your patience as we map out the next few months. We are working tirelessly behind the scenes to solidify plans for these virtual concerts. And it is our commitment to you that we will clearly and concisely communicate ASO 36 Revival season details in the coming weeks. At a minimum, we are certain that you will receive the highest quality live streaming performance, which you can enjoy from virtually anywhere. The lineup will include a program entitled Unite, that's Friday, September 11th, 2020, Triumph, Friday, October 23rd, 2020, Transform, Friday, November 13th, 2020, Believe, Thursday, December 17th, 2020, Adore, Friday, February 12th, 2021, Empower, Friday, April 16th, 2021, at St. John's Cathedral, and Revive, Thursday, May 13th, 2021, at St. Mary's Church. The Adore is, I forgot to mention, will be streaming live from ACA, or the Canadian Center for the Arts. Okay, getting back into the news, let's go to our day in history. Today is Friday, August 7th, the 220th day of 2020. There are a potential 146 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on August 7th, 1964, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, giving President Lyndon B. Johnson broad powers in dealing with reported North Vietnamese attacks on U.S. forces. On this date in 1782, General George Washington created the Order of the Purple Heart, a decoration to recognize merit in enlisted men and non-commissioned officers. In 1912, Theodore Roosevelt was nominated for president by the Progressive Party, also known as the Bull Moose Party, in Chicago. New Jersey Governor Woodrow Wilson accepted the Democratic presidential nomination at his summer home in Seagirt. 1942, U.S. and other Allied forces landed at Guadalcanal, marking the start of the first major Allied offensive in the Pacific during World War II. Japanese forces abandoned the island the following February. In 1959, the United States launched the Explorer 6 satellite, which sent back images of Earth. 1971, the Apollo 15 moon mission ended successfully as its command module splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. 1990, President George H.W. Bush ordered U.S. troops and warplanes to Saudi Arabia to guard the oil-rich desert kingdom against a possible invasion by Iraq. 1998, terrorist bombs at U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania killed 224 people, including 12 Americans. In the year 2000, Vice President Democratic presidential candidate Al Gore selected Connecticut Senator Joseph Lieberman as his running mate. Lieberman became the first Jewish candidate on a major party's presidential ticket. 10 years ago, Elena Kagan was sworn in as the 112th Justice and fourth woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. 5 years ago, Colorado theater shooter James Holmes was spared the death penalty in favor of life in prison after a jury in Centennial failed to agree on whether he should be executed for his murderous attack on a packed movie premiere that left 12 people dead. 1 year ago, Santonio Brown was released early from the Tennessee Prison for Women, where she'd been serving a life sentence for killing a man who had picked her up for sex at the age of 16. Brown, who is now 31, has been championed by celebrities as a symbol of unfair sentencing. Today's birthdays: magician, author, and lecturer James Randi is 92. Singer B.J. Thomas, 78 years old. Go B.J. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller is 76. Actor John Glover, 76. Actor David Rosh, 76. Former diplomat, talk show host, and activist Alan Keyes is 70. Country singer Rodney Crowell is 70. Actor Caroline Aaron is 68. Actor Wayne Knight is 65. Rock singer Bruce Dickinson is 62. Actor David Duchovny is 60. Actor Delane Matthews is 59. Raul Malo that's country singer Raul Malo is 55. And actor Charlotte Lewis is 53. Turning to the zodiac or the horoscope, if you're a Leo, the attention you attract will invite criticism as well as praise. Be prepared to stand up for your beliefs and to follow through with your promises. Romance is favored. Virgo, the threat of emotional interference as a parent. A mistake will hinder reaching your full potential. Clear your mind and make practical decisions. So I should listen to that one since that's my birth sign. Libra, know what you want and what you're willing to give up. Don't try to change others or a plan that's already in motion. Change your attitude and do what's best for you. Scorpio, the changes someone wants you to make will be for his or her benefit, not yours. Rethink your strategy and consider what makes you happy before you commit to someone's plan. Sagittarius, know when to say no and you'll have more time to follow your dream. You can wheel and deal, finalize an agreement, and do anything else you fancy, as long as you thwart interference. Capricorn, an emotional situation will put you in a precarious position with someone you deal with daily. Concentrate on getting concrete results, reuse and recycle. Aquarius, plan something special. Celebrate with someone you love or pamper yourself. Don't let anyone coerce you into something you don't want to do. Pisces, someone's response to your work or attitude will make you consider heading in a different direction. Wait until you have all the facts. A premature move will be costly. Aries, don't take a risk when dealing with affairs of the heart. Stick to your plan regardless of what others do or say. You'll gain stability by doing what's right and best for you. Taurus, stop second guessing and trust your intuition to guide you in the right direction. Positive thoughts will help you deter those trying to lead you astray. Gemini, stay focused on what you're trying to achieve and say no to anyone who is tempting you with anything that will interfere with your progress. Discipline and hard work will pay off. And finally, Cancer, push your ideas and plans through. Be innovative, persistent, and ready to challenge anyone who stands between you and what you want. Opportunity is within reach. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature not based on scientific fact. If you don't stay in the Canaan area, Laurie Broussard, St. Edmund Catholic Church, 4131 West Congress Street in Lafayette at 2 p.m. Redwood Duhon, Delhome Chapel of the Flowers at 11 a.m. Trisha Foote, St. Peter's and Paul Catholic Church at 1110 Old Spanish Trail in Scott at 3 p.m. And Michael Noel, St. Anne Catholic Church at 1 p.m. Okay, let's turn back into our news cycle. Going to state news, judge upholds Edwards restrictions, governor extends limits for 3 weeks by Sam Carlin. Governor John Bel Edwards extended the state's coronavirus restrictions for another 3 weeks. A Baton Rouge judge on Thursday updated his regulations, closing bars, mandating masks, and limiting gatherings, ruling the limits are within his power as governor. The decision by 19th Judicial District Court Janice Clark ensured the state's coronavirus restrictions will remain in place at least until 2 other federal lawsuits are heard in the next 2 weeks. Edwards' order extending the restrictions comes as the state's cases, hospitalizations, and other metrics show signs of improvement. Still, the state is reporting high numbers of cases and nowhere near the precipitous drop in cases seen in April after the governor put a stay-at-home order in place. The governor on Thursday called the improvements modest and said the restrictions are necessary to slow the spread of the virus. With the new order, Edwards always revoked the ability for parishes to opt out of the statewide mask mandate if they meet a certain threshold for incidence of the virus. None meet the threshold to opt out, but the change will prevent local authorities from ending the mandate in their parishes if the number of virus cases circulating across the state continues to drop. This is not the last legal challenge that's been put into place, but I'm confident that I'm doing what is necessary, that we're following the science, that we're following the data, Edwards said, adding he's obligated to put those restrictions in place to protect residents. Clark said Edwards can exercise power to limit the loss of life, adding that although businesses will certainly be affected, the government should provide more aid to prop up the private sector. She rejected arguments from four Jefferson Parish business owners that the governor was unfairly targeting bars and people who rely on large gatherings like musicians with his regulations. We're in need of the eradication of this dreadful pathogen that has besieged this nation and left unabated will turn this nation asunder, Clark said. She added the state needs to get a hold of the virus. The plaintiffs in the suit were Jefferson Parish business owners Justin Malason and attorney and musician Jennifer Labella Tusa, owner of catering and events businesses like Crossing, Natasha Sidovich, owner of Moby's Bar and Grill, and Ronald Dalio, owner of Clary Tavern. Malayason, who was also an attorney in the case, argued the governor's orders unfairly targeted bars and people who rely on galleries, such as musicians. The order he was challenging was issued in July and closed bars to in-person consumption, limited indoor gatherings to 50 or fewer, and mandated masks nationwide. Relying in part on Republican Attorney General Jeff Landry's opinion that the governor's restrictions are inappropriate, Malayason said he believed the regulations are unconstitutional and showed a particular bias against bar owners relying on shoddy contact tracing data to support the decision. It saddens me that we're seeing the end of a small business, Malayason said, and this is unfortunately in its first step. These businesses are gasping for their last breath. Malayason said he hadn't made a decision about whether to appeal the ruling. The ruling represents a win for the governor as he prepares for hearings in two other lawsuits brought by bar owners and other parts of the state and federal court. Jimmy Faircloth, a former top lawyer to then Governor Bobby Jindal, is representing bar owners in those suits whose hearings are slated for the next 2 weeks. Dr. Gina Lagarde, the state's regional medical director for the North Shore area, joined Edwards at a news conference Thursday to implore people who claim to have the constitutional right not to wear a mask in public to do so anyways so they can protect others. Lagarde said her cousin, a 63-year-old New Orleans resident, contracted the virus a week after Louisiana confirmed its first case. She died in early April, Lagarde said. When I hear people say it is my right not to wear a mask, it is my right to congregate in large groups. What about my right to live, Lagarde said. Wearing a mask might have saved my cousin. The NOAA, 25 named storms possible, forecast for 2020 hurricane season adjusted by Mark Shivelstein. Federal climate scientists have upped their forecast for the 2020 hurricane season to extremely active and predict there will be as many as 25 named storms by the end of November. It's only the third time that forecasters from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, have tagged a season as extremely active, said Gary Bell, lead seasonal hurricane forecaster for NOAA's Climate Prediction Center. The likelihood of an above normal hurricane season in the Atlantic has increased to 85%, and there's now only a 10% chance of a near normal season and 5% chance of a below normal season, said LUS Uccinelli, director of the National Weather Service, at a telephone news conference on Thursday. The increased potential for hurricanes makes preparing for a tropical storm to hit coastal areas even more important, he said. Now is the time to organize family plans and to make the necessary family preparation, Uccinelli said. He urged the public to view more preparedness information at ready.gov/hurricanes. The most active season on record was 2005, the year of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, when there were 31 tropical systems, including 28 named storms. Bell said that conditions for hurricane formation are not as favorable this year as they were then. NOAA's updated forecast calls for 19 to 25 named storms with winds of 39 miles per hour or greater, including 7 to 11 that will be hurricanes with winds of 74 miles per hour or greater, and with 3 to 6 of those becoming major hurricanes, Category 3 or greater. Hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th. Bell cited 2 major reasons for an increased activity this year. The Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, a long-time weather pattern that began in 1995 and causes weaker wind shear in the Atlantic, weaker trade winds in the area where the hurricanes form in the Atlantic, and winds that are more favorable for storm creation coming off the African coast. An expectation that La Nina cooler water conditions will return to the eastern Pacific Ocean during the next few months, which will also reduce wind shear in the Atlantic over areas where storms form. He said labeling the season as extremely active resulted from a review of climate model results. He indicated the season's accumulated cyclone energy index, a measure of the combination of all the storms' intensity and duration, totaled more than 165% of the average for hurricane seasons between 1981 and 2010. An average hurricane season has 12 named storms, including 6 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes. This year's season has already set records with 9 named storms and 2 hurricanes this early in the season. Typically, only 2 named storms form by early August, and the 9th doesn't occur until October 4th. Bell said it's too early to say whether climate change, global warming is a factor in producing storms this year, but he said global warming is definitely a factor in the potential effects of tropical storms and hurricanes that will approach land. Warmer ocean water temperatures will cause higher water elevations and greater inundation during high tides occurring along coastlines during storms. Also, the same high water effect will cause storm surges caused by tropical storms or hurricanes to be higher. Bell said research also indicated that global warming has the potential of adding several inches of rainfall to storms as they make landfall, as occurred in Houston during Hurricane Harvey in 2017. In May, NOAA forecasts predicted there will be between 13 and 19 named storms, including 6 to 10 hurricanes, with 3 to 6 being major. During the 2005 season, there were 31 tropical and subtropical systems, including 27 storms that received names during the season, and the 28th that was determined after the season ended to have reached tropical storm strength, but did not get a name. A record was also set in 2005 for the number of hurricanes, 15, including a record 7 of those reaching major hurricane status. In 2005, Atlantic Ocean temperatures were even warmer than this year, and wind conditions were even more favorable, Bill said. But this time in 2005, we already had 2 major hurricanes. In a report, Working Poor Households Increasing in Louisiana by Ken Stickney, more than a half of Louisiana households are operating either below federal poverty standards or in the realm of working poor families as defined by a United Way measure applied to people who are asset limited, income constrained, and employed, according to a report released Thursday. Report says 51% of the state's 1,735,620 households struggle to meet their bills. 1/3 of the state households fall into LUS income standards. In releasing the data, the Louisiana Association of United Ways said it showed that a family of four in the state needs income of $69,732 to make ends meet. That's well above averages at low-income jobs like cashier, the most common job Louisiana can provide. Cashiers, for example, earn $9.10 an hour and about $18,200 a year on average, the report said. Other common but low-wage jobs that keep people below LUS living standards include nursing assistants, clerks, and services, the report said. The greatest impact of the report, what it has done, is frame the needs for half of the population, said George Bell, President and CEO of Capital Area United Way in Baton Rouge. We understand what the need is, how fragile that population is. We hope it changes how policymakers make decisions and enlightens people at the core of our struggles in our region and state. Patty Riddle-Barger, Entergy's Vice President of Corporate Responsibility, said across Entergy's service area, almost 600,000 customers were behind on their power bill payments at the end of July. The company set a monthly record for customers receiving assistance with payments. August is expected to be worse. Entergy is a LUS statewide sponsor in Louisiana. Elsa Dimitriades of United Way of Acadiana said the recent numbers, which reflect 2018 data, reaffirm why the local United Way directs most of its resources toward the working poor. The pandemic, she said, has only worsened problems for those in low-wage jobs who have had to deal with additional child care worries because of closed schools, even while many of them are pressed to get to their jobs as essential workers. In Orleans Parish, 57% of 155,104 households fall below LUS income standards. Sarah Berthelot, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of United Ways, said everyone knows someone who falls into the bracket of LUS households, hard workers in Louisiana who make more money than federal standards for poverty, but not enough to afford the basic essentials. She said such families make tough financial choices, such as whether to buy food or medicine. Oftentimes, she said, they are one emergency away from seeing their finances spiral out of control. In St. Tammany, a court deal set back to some parents, suit filed over French immersion classes by Sarah Pagonis. Parents who are hoping a state judge would greenlight a French immersion program in St. Tammany public schools were told Wednesday they'll have to return to square one in their legal fight. Ann Ogden, a parent who has been pushing for the district to offer French immersion for 3 years and first sued the district in 2018, has again asked 22nd Judicial District Judge Ray Childress to force the district to launch the program for kindergarten and first graders. But at a hearing Wednesday at the St. Tammany Parish Courthouse, Childress said he agreed with the school district, which said that the plaintiffs were trying to relitigate the matter by resurrecting a case that had already been heard and appealed to the First Circuit Court of Appeals. He dismissed their petition, saying he lacked jurisdiction to take action sought by the plaintiffs. Peter Jabia, the school district's acting superintendent, said he was satisfied with the judge's ruling, although he didn't think the issue was over. Instead, Ogden and her lawyers said they'll file a new lawsuit on Thursday. This is just a bump in the road, said Ogden, who has a child entering first grade. She is one of 71 parents who petitioned the school system earlier this year to create the program. But in June, the school district notified these parents that the program would not be offered because the district could not conform the number of requests and commitments. Jan Bergeron, attorney for the school district, said that a new form that did not include the language was mailed out immediately upon the appeals court ruling. They brought two witnesses to court, Michelle Broad, World Languages Coordinator for the Louisiana Department of Education, and Peggy Feehan, Executive Director of Codafil. He planned to ask them about a lack of response from St. Tammany about their offers to help find instructor. Waiter posts a $10 million quarterly profit by Timothy Boone. Lafayette-based online food delivery company Waiter Holdings Inc. posted a second quarter profit of $10.7 million compared with a $24.9 million loss in the same period a year ago. Waited scored its first profitable quarter since the company went public in November 2018, stemming in part from a surge in demand caused by the coronavirus pandemic, but also a shift from employee drivers to independent contractors. Many restaurants have added delivery service to make up for the lost revenue from reduced seating capacity and customers leery of dining out. The company also expanded its offerings by starting to deliver groceries and alcohol from local supermarkets. On a per-share basis, the Lafayette-based company had net income of 10 cents compared with last year's 32 cents per share loss. Latest revenues, which come from transaction fees paid by participating restaurants, grocery stores, and customers, were up from $51.3 million in the second quarter of 2019 to $60.5 million. Okay, moving on to the next story. New unemployment claim drops in Louisiana. Continued claims beginning to plateau at more than 300,000 by Timothy Boone. The number of first-time employee claims in Louisiana dropped last week, but the number of people continuing to get jobless benefits held fairly steady. There were 13,402 initial unemployment claims filed during the week ending Saturday, according to figures released Thursday by the Louisiana Workforce Commission. That's down from the 18,511 first-time claims filed before, in comparison to more typical numbers. 2,126 first-time claims were filed the same week last year. Continuing claims rose slightly to 327,467 last week from 324,357 the previous week. In comparison, the number of claims in the same week in 2019 was 18,179. The number of continued claims have held around the 300,000 mark since May 2nd. The peak was hit on the week of May 16th when there were 321,711 continued claims. Although also the week Governor John Bel Edwards first partially lifted a stay-at-home order that had been in place since early March and briefly dipped to a low of 297,018 for the week of June 20th before heading back above the 300,000 mark. For continuing unemployment benefits, accommodation and food service business accounted for 76,937 claims, retail trade 38,045 claims, healthcare and social assistance claims 32,850, and construction 29,836. The Advocate, the Times-Picayune, win major environmental journalism award. Staff report. The Advocate and the Times-Picayune have been honored with a prestigious award from the Society of Environmental Journalists for the newspaper series Polluter's Paradise, published last year with the nonprofit newsroom ProPublica. The series won the organization Kevin Carmody Award for Outstanding Investigative Reporting for a Large Newsroom, the top division in the contest, the Society of Environmental Journalists announced on Thursday. The journalists who shared in the honors include Tristan Barrick, Gordon Russell, Mark Schiffelstein, and Sarah Sneath of the Times-Picayune and the Advocate, Joan Mainers, formerly of the Times-Picayune and the Advocate and now working for the Spectrum in St. George, Utah, and Claire Perlman, Michael Petroni, Al Shaw, and Lily Yunes of ProPublica. The project was a product of ProPublica's local reporting network, in which the nonprofit newsroom partners with and steers grant money to local media organizations around the country to win grants. The Advocate and the Times-Picayune were part of the network in 2018 and 2019. The series broadly examined Louisiana's stewardship of the state's fragile environment, starting with a story and interactive graphic at how a raft of planned new petrochemical facilities would affect air quality in some of the state's most polluted areas. Other stories scrutinize Louisiana's tax regulatory regime, in particular the state's failure to hold oil companies responsible for spills and the state's awarding of tens of millions of dollars in tax breaks to industrial projects that appear to provide few economic projects and benefits. The joint project by ProPublica, the Advocate, and the Times-Picayune was among 499 entries in the journalism contest, according to the Society. Separately, the Society of News Design announced this week that it was honoring an interactive graphic published as part of the Blues Paradise series. The graphic helped visualize the estimated concentrations of carcinogenic chemicals from plants in Louisiana's industrial corridor and showed how these emissions combine to increase overall toxicity in the air. The graphic was awarded a silver medal in the Society of New Design's Features category, and it also received the Climate Change and Environmental Commitment Best Graphic Award in the digital category. And a round of applause for everybody involved in that investigative report. Very good work. Okay, it's now 9:57, which means that our audio portion and the TV stations have ceased, but you're still able to hear this morning's newscast through our YouTube station, AOC Community Media, and our online live streaming Cypress Street Radio channel. Just go to Cypress Street, that's CYPRESS Radio online, punch it in, and you'll come to the homepage, press the start button, and you will hear the news broadcast. And we do have one final story about sports. The Cajun camp opens with team grappling with the unexpected. Napier believes staff and players can persevere by Kevin Foote. In Billy Napier's original master plan, how he felt opening year 3 as Raging Cajuns coach Thursday wasn't supposed to be like this. Coming off a record-breaking 11-3 season with 2 seasons of building expectations behind him, the transition to 2020 was theoretically going to be a breeze. It almost feels like the year of taking over a program, said Napier, who opened August camp with a news teleconference on Thursday. If this was year 3 and we were operating the same way, we would be rolling right now. We'd have processes that have been very specific. Instead, the coronavirus made the offseason like none other in the sports history, and then Saturday, the offensive line coach, TJ Looney, unexpectedly died of a heart attack. It's really going to challenge us at the core. What type of relationships we have, what type of focus that we have, Napier said. We've come to understand that there's going to be good days and bad days moving forward. We're prepared and equipped to do that. I told our staff and our team that if there's one group of people that can handle this and that are built for them, it's our team and our staff. I'm confident in what we have. I truly believe that it's unique. One of the reasons why it's unique is the caliber of people that we've assembled. The Cajuns have brought in 2 new members of the staff, defensive coordinator Patrick Toney and special teams coach Robbie Disher. What Napier does have in his corner is a seasoned leader, a quarterback, and senior Levi Lewis. We're fortunate to have Levi back, Napier said. In particular, in a year like this, his experience and his character and leadership are more important than ever. That could prove invaluable as Napier's staff begin a 10-day training camp session Friday until the start of school August 17th. At that point, Napier will devise a new plan to bridge the gap until the September 5th season opener against Mini State at Cajun Field. These 2 phases fall a mini camp that was cut 4 days short because of Looney's death. The number one thing on the top of our list is we've got to develop that chemistry, morale, and we've got to know our teammates, Napier said. I feel like because of the way we've had to operate in small groups all summer, we did nothing as a team together. We have a ways to go from a growth standpoint of getting to know everybody on the team and appreciating everyone's roles as those are clarified. Also making matters tough is off-season personal losses, including 2 wide receivers. Not available this season after off-season surgeries are receivers Caleb Gossip with an Achilles and Jamel Bell with a knee. Sophomore defensive tackle Kendall Wilkerson is likely out for the season after breaking a leg and wrist in an off-season automobile accident. It is a position where we're going to have some young players play, Napier said of wide receiver. Napier said freshman tight end Christian Sabatini will be slowed in the early going by an injury. On the flip side, Napier said no players opted out for the season with coronavirus concerns. We haven't had any players make decisions to opt out, Napier said. Certainly we'll be understanding if that we had a very compromised situation at home and maybe didn't feel safe. I'd have no issue with that at all. Despite all the challenges for the program, the Cajuns did receive 3 votes in the preseason coaches top 25 poll released Thursday. I think we're making progress, Napier said. We've improved. We certainly have a lot of work left to do, but I really don't think any of that matters. Go check the coaches poll this time last year and see how accurate it was to how the season finished. It's a projection. It's a hypothesis. What's going to matter is the work we've done up until this point and the work we do from this point forward. Going forward, Napier said he's also content with the program's COVID-19 protocols. I'm very confident in the protocols we have in place to protect our players and our staff and our inner bubble of people, Napier said. We've got to continue to increase the discipline that we have lived with and that we play with. Also, our intention to detail has got to go another level. We're going to go where we think we can go. Always good for an antidote to put things in perspective. UL's strength and conditioning coach Mark Hoke referred to wisdom from a recent book he's read, The Last Lecture, to provide some clarity to the team's mission. The brick walls are there for a reason, Hoke said. The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. The brick walls are there to stop people who don't want it badly enough. They are there to stop the other people. All right, folks, that about wraps it up this morning for this Friday's newscast on Friday, August 7th, 2020. I appreciate you hanging in there. It's just a few minutes past 10. And I'd like to thank everybody who continued to listen in on the broadcast. We greatly appreciate it. We do this broadcast every Monday through Friday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m., reading the news live and in person and in voice through our AOC Community Media on YouTube and on Cypress Street Radio and on all of our TV channels. We, again, appreciate you listening and tuning in. We do this for our community of visually impaired residents and for the people in our community who don't have the news, don't get the newspaper or have access to the news cycle. Again, we thank you for listening in. As always, this is Bruce Cohen. This will always be Bruce Cohen. I implore you to be safe, healthy, and smart. Be smart, folks. Go out there wearing masks, taking the right sanitation approaches. Please, don't stay 6 feet from people and wear your mask at all times if you're going to go outside and be among others. Just do what's right. Do the right thing, and we'll get through this together. And as I always say, be kind to each other and have a good day and a good rest of the weekend, and we'll see you Monday morning, bright and early.